the morning. Super Bowl team and now these haters salty. Rockin' Zenny shades to the championship shit. That Nick Bosa drop him hard like a hit stick. The Jimmy Ward intercept him with a big six. Like Debo, we gon' knock him like a brick. The Trey Lance play action to a drop back. When the blitz coming quick, the old line gon' block that. RPO with Kyle Juice. But Mitchell and George Kittle, can't nobody stop that. Stand behind Kyle Shanny all the way. It's like a game of chess when he gonna play. Brendan Ayuk on the slanter fade. Bang, bang, Niner gang all day. I'm talking big body Trent Williams and C. Ward. Offense, defense, either way we score. Jay Verrett, Mosley, and Fred Warner. Armstead and Greenlaw, warned you. 49er fave will ride with me. Red and gold blooded to the day I D.I.E. Reppin' Niner gang and it's all I bleed. Racking up dubs in my Levi jeans. And we run over the league with our whole team. Be that number one seed cause we ballin'. Putting
Videos courtesy of NFL.com. I could watch that all day.
I literally was just mesmerized by that. I'm like, God, he was just like the god of quarterbacks. He was so freaking good.
We weren't on
the GOAT.
Yeah, we weren't on last week. So happy belated birthday to Joe Montana. That was an homage to him.
The legend himself.
Indeed.
Yeah, the band is back together today. Welcome to IE Sports Radio. I'm Niners Jess, along with Ty Alston, Maddie B, and your girl Bex. We are the East Coast Red and Gold. What's going on, everybody?
Feeling good. Good to be back.
The usual, snarky comments and hijinks.
Back on East Coast time in my brain and body.
I think my favorite part of that was seeing the Montreal Expos flag on the outfield wall of Shea Stadium as the 49ers played the Jets at Shea Stadium.
Yep.
Yeah.
Which is now the parking lot of Citi Field. In fact,
Indeed,
if you walk to the parking lot, you can see the first base where Bill Buckner had the ball go behind his legs. So when you walk by it, you have to scream, "Behind the bag!" It's by Buckner.
It's by Buckner.
The stuff that you key
Legendary.
into, Maddie, is just amazing.
It's utterly ridiculous. I
little
don't know what
things.
to tell you. I'm sorry. I only give you guys that little peek because frankly the rest of it would be ridiculous. This is why I only do this. Like if I ever did anything solo, you'd be like, what is happening in there?
What is going on?
Thank you.
And a special shout out to Maddie's connection. It's pretty good.
Yeah, he's hanging in there.
I went back to the old bag of tricks, and we've got some hardwired internet in the garage.
All right.
So
nice.
things are happening.
Old school.
Here. Oh yeah.
Hardwired.
That is exactly, Ty. I'm not kidding you. That is exactly what I said to Jess when we were in the bullpen before the show warming up, and I was like. Yeah, I went in and I was like, I used to overbuy everything, so maybe I've got an extra long, like 50-foot Ethernet cable. Hot dog, I do. And I rolled around the sun. I'm like, all right, let's do a little
garage
test.
looks like a mad scientist with like a bulk of cables.
That was one of the things. That's one of the reasons I got out of that business. I was doing that every Friday night, and sometimes during basketball season, you're doing it Tuesday night and Friday night. And then you have a camera guy doing it, and it's like, So I'd much rather go to a 49ers game. Thank you. Thank you very much. I would rather not be sure if I'm going to get a seat on a flight and fly cross country twice in like a 36-hour period than go back and do that again. So that's why I'm here. Hi.
Oh, yes.
All right. Well, it's good to see everybody. I missed you guys.
Indeed.
What's up to everybody in
You
the
look
chat?
like you missed us.
What's that?
I said, you missed us.
We can tell through the pictures that you were just missing us deeply.
The wish you were here Instagram post. We all got the postcard. It was really
No, I did miss you guys. I kind of felt out of my element last week with no show. You know what I mean?
Weird.
And it was it was
Wednesday in a
Tuesday.
while.
And Ty texts me and I'm like, oh crap. I was just all mixed up and my days and
Hold on, Ty. Yes, please. Another Mai Tai.
Yeah.
I know.
Mai Tais and margaritas were my go-to drinks.
No.
down there.
Yes on the Mai Tai, no on the show, Ty. Yes.
Exactly. Yeah.
Look at you get me. Sorry. Yes.
Like, why is
Brandy,
you
your
spelling
name
my
is?
name
Yes, you're doing a great job.
T-A-I?
Thanks. Yes.
Well, it is good to be back. What's up, Melissa? Long time no
Hey.
see. Hope you're well. Good to see you. Taryn Rodriguez.
I'm gonna have to get like a summer home in Jersey just so I can, or something.
I think you should.
Be close.
Timeshare in
from
Atlantic
Niners Sickles
City.
Podcast. Go subscribe to him.
Oh,
Let's see who else we got here. Tony Culp. What's going on?
Morning.
TC.
Thank you. Yes, we are back.
He's back.
Beto's making fun of me because I put my arm on my hip and it's very comfortable the way I sit. Thank you.
I have a niece that does the same thing and has since she was like
What's up,
12 years
Sin?
old. So that's like a thing. Like that's normal. There's gotta be some sort of like thing for that, like a name for it, whatever it is.
I don't know why. It's
don't
just
know.
really like I sit like this majority of the show and it's just
With
really
your hands on
comfortable.
your hip?
Yeah.
Hip hold.
I don't think I've noticed you sitting with your hand on your hip.
Great. Now everybody's gonna know.
Yeah, now
Yep,
we're all
that's
gonna
what
do
we
that.
think.
Now we're gonna be keeping an eye on it. It's great.
New
Oh,
drinking game.
Now I'm not gonna do it. I'm gonna be like,
Yes, exactly.
Slapping the mic.
it's gonna
Hands
be
on
one
the
of those
table.
shows I say.
Hands on the table. Here we go.
Carcast 49ers talk. What's going on?
Cass.
Brian
Another
Culp,
New
everybody.
Jersey guy.
Brian.
Dina. What's going on?
Dina's in the house. What's up?
TOW, the other woman.
All right.
Shout out to the ladies podcast. She knows what I mean.
Yes, Ladies of the Empire. Shout out.
I'm
also
deeply
Niners Now
upset there's no show
podcast.
this week.
Yeah, next week.
Have to talk to Tony about that.
Yeah, we got to start doing every Thursday. I'm game for that. All right, guys. Let's talk a little Shanahan and Lynch.
Yeah.
This offense, is this going to be the best offense we've seen under this regime? Becca?
It certainly has the potential. I think our one unknown is that whole, quarterback situation. I mean, everything is there to say yes, but depends on, who comes out and who gets the start and how they perform. Otherwise, I think that, that the rest of the offense is going to obviously try to make up or pick up, any slack if there is a lapse on the quarterback side, a blip there early on with everyone working out the kinks. But I think the entire team is ready. They're all playing like they're ready to win.
Maddie, what do you think?
I think so. I've ran a few simulations. There's a few different simulators out there that you can run. And I like to run them because it bases it off of different things, different schedules, different filters, et cetera, et cetera. But if you just run it through and you run it through 100 times, you're pretty much going to get the average no matter what everything is. That's how it goes. So run it 100 times. And there wasn't a single scenario where Brock Purdy, I felt like Doctor Strange a little bit in Infinity War when he goes through all the different scenarios, the million and whatever, and there's only one. There were only two where he had less than 4,500 yards passing. If you have a quarterback with 4,500 yards passing in this offense, and P.S., I'm not a big spoilers guy. Actually, you know what? I'm not a big prediction guy. I'm just a spoilers guy. It just so happens 1985, Roger Craig with the double 1,000 year, with the receiving, rushing.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't think that's happening with Christian McCaffrey this year, go home, because that's going to happen. That's a big deal. So if you have 1,000 yards receiving and 1,000 yards rushing from your running back, and you get 4,500 yards receiving, passing from your quarterback, and then you have the year that you're going to have with George Kittle, who, projects to a pretty good year with Purdy in there because Purdy likes to use his tight end. I don't know what to tell you. I don't know what you stop. And I haven't even mentioned Deebo Samuel. I haven't mentioned Brandon Ayuk, who PS is in a contract year. Also, Deebo Samuel's pissed off because he's afraid he's going to get traded. If that's the guess I'm going to say that Kyle Shanahan had with him. Like, listen, if you have another year like that, you're probably going to be out of here next year. To be quite frank with you, I wouldn't be shocked if he had that conversation with him. Look at the way he responded in that press conference. So, yeah, this offense is going to be really good. Really, 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 really good, especially in the NFC. The NFC is hot garbage, guys. I don't know what else to tell you.
Caliente
Like,
basura.
it is. Yeah, it is. It is post July 4th, and like it got left out in the sun all day. Like that's exactly what happened. There's cake in there, some watermelon, probably some
My
chicken.
boy Kittle.
It's a rough.
She's like,
It's a rough time.
Yeah, I
Ty,
agree
what do
with
you
you there. The offense is going to take off. We saw it last season how one, they had a chip on their shoulder after the KC game because they knew they let that one go, right? And the offensive guys spoke up. Like, we got too many guys on this team to not put up a massive amount of points. And after that, they came out firing and they hit their stride. And they were playing 49er football, the football they were known that they can play, that they know they can play. Now you get a whole offseason when everyone's healthy. No one's rehabbing anything. You get CMC, who Matt alluded to as the key to it all. He's got a full offseason under his belt, learning this offense, getting the nuances, really picking it up. So this thing it trended like this, as the season ended, and it's just going to keep going that way. And you had Kyles, who was in his bag 100%. He's seeing things that other defenses can't envision. He's got it dialed up. So I think this offense is really going to take off.
Yeah, I'd have to agree with that. And I agree with the whole CMC thing because without him, I don't know if we are, where we are like we were last year.
mm-hmm.
He was definitely a big X factor. Go ahead.
I was going to say, let's look at the points. Okay, after the Chiefs, even in the Chiefs' loss, they scored 23 points, and they
should have been more.
Oh, it should have been way more.
Should have been way more.
So you can thumbtack that one, right? But then after that, against the Rams, they had 31. They had 22 against the Chargers, 38 against Arizona, only 13 against the Saints. That was the Thanksgiving Day weekend, so I'm guessing that was the hangover.
That was that
weekend.
Weird one. Yep.
Yep, and it's usually weird against the Saints. I was watching a game the other day where Bum Phillips and the Saints beat them in 85, like 20-17. There's absolutely no way in hell any Bum Phillips New Orleans Saints team should have beaten the Joe Montana.
He should have beat us,
okay?
right?
But it freaking happened.
That game.
Yep.
Right, because you know what the NFL stands for? No fucking logic. Okay, that's what it means. All right, I know Jerry Glanville used to say it stood for not for long, but a lot of times it's just no effing logic, no logic at all whatsoever. It makes no sense, but sometimes it just happens. But then after that, you had the Miami game, 33 points, Tampa Bay 35, Seattle 21 on a short week with a quarterback with an injury that he probably shouldn't have been playing with. And then 37, 37, and 38 to wrap up the year. 41 at home against Seattle a couple of weeks later. 19 against the Cowboys because the Cowboys are weird. And then 7 points because we didn't have a quarterback. So, I mean, if you take out those last two games, hell, if you just take out the Philadelphia game, that scoring average went up quite a bit.
Yeah.
So he unlocked kind of a next level. Now the key is, can he take that step from he did it to he did it again and he did it again better, right? So even Tom Brady slipped up a little bit in his second year as a full-time starter. The 2002 Pats really struggled. So I'll be real interested to see if he avoids the sophomore slump or if this elbow helps put him into one.
Yeah, Melissa said she's hoping Elijah can shut up the haters and ball like his rookie year, especially because Mitchell and McCaffrey dual running back would be a dream come true. Yeah, I mean, the state of the franchise, Chris Forster praised both CMC and Elijah Mitchell.
Yeah.
and even said that Trent Williams described Elijah Mitchell just, going through the lanes and almost like garbage cans, being hit.
You
That's
heard
how hard Elijah Mitchell runs.
you heard the pads
Um,
popping when he got
yep.
in there.
And that's the first positive feedback we've heard about Elijah Mitchell all offseason, guys.
Yeah.
And typically when the players talk good about another player, especially with these guys, they're not really blowing smoke. Like if they're just saying generic things, then they're like, whatever, they're saying generic things. But when they go out and remember how well and how glowingly they talked about Purdy last year, as an example, right? Like they weren't at all concerned when he took over because they're like, yeah, well, he did it against us, no big deal. So kind of the same thing in this situation. If Mitchell can stay healthy, which the last 2 years he hasn't been able to. And last year it was like, hey, let's get injured a couple times, right? Just knock out two at the same time. He can be electric. He was such a find. So if not, I feel pretty strongly that Jordan Mason could be a Pac-Man back.
Yeah.
Just eat up yards.
Do you guys think Mitchell will be traded?
Will somebody do a thing like Miami did last year and overpay for Wilson the same way
Exactly.
for the same league as Mitchell? I look at this kind of like that, right? There's certain teams in Major League Baseball that are really good at developing pitching. There's certain teams in the NFL that are really good at developing wide receivers. Well, for some reason, this team is really good at finding running backs. And then they had Jeff Wilson last year and they were totally content with him staying on the roster and doing the thing. And they were like, well, we want to whatever. And I can't remember what it was. Was it a 6th for a 5th or something like that? He got him a 5th round pick, or they wanted a 7th. He got a 6th, whatever it was. They basically got him a slot over what they wanted. And they still got it, right? So if somebody overpays for him on basis of, we think Elijah Mitchell's worth a 4th round pick. Well, okay, we'll give you a 3rd. They're going to trade him, right?
Yeah.
And Kyle said as much. Right? He said that anytime. Like if somebody's going to overpay, like if somebody's going to pay out the wazoo, even I could be gone. Right? Like they know that there's a draft pick or a monetary value attached to literally every single one of them from the coach on down. So kind of the same deal in this situation.
It's the business of football. Anyone can be traded. And we know John Lynch loves a deal. We know if someone out there is going to overpay and he could get something for nothing, he can do it. But I think it all depends on how the season goes. Right now, I think they're very happy with the running back room. The 1-2 punch of CMC and Elijah we saw last season when they were together, it was electric, right? And then you got the young guys who can bring in, who are the hammers that they can hammer away the end of a game if need be. So you keep the healthy running back room as the trade deadline approaches, and if there's a running back needy team like Miami was last year with their injuries and such, and they reach out and they're like, hey, we're trying to make a run. We'll give you a 3rd for him. We'll give you a 4th for him. You got to listen to it. And you got to look at the dynamics of the roster. But, anything can happen. You got to look at the variables involved, though. I don't think right now they would trade him. No. I've heard people say that. Like, oh, he could be traded in camp. No, I don't think that's happening right now. You need those healthy legs in camp to start the season.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with that too, Ty, that I don't think they're going to trade him in camp. But, listening to the state of the franchise, they talked about, being able to make certain moves because you have young quarterbacks who aren't costing you a lot of money on the cap right now. So I think, they analyze every opportunity, every trade request, because if it makes sense with money, and we've talked about this before, having young quarterbacks and not hitting your cap, where you're able to go out and get the Javon Hargraves and get Christian McCaffrey and then restructure a deal to make some other cap space. You let quality people walk because you're probably going to find something in the draft that you can replace that with, or find someone in free agency. But they said it right there, like it's free agency. If you go shopping there, you're going to pay top dollar. So we're lucky enough to be able to have drafted and have young quarterbacks that aren't costing us a lot of money where we can go out and get these other quality players and bring one key cog for the wheel on, to plug a hole in the line, but also make some other moves. And so when you think about somebody like Elijah, I agree with you, Matt, if the right deal comes across and somebody's going to overpay, they're going to do it. They're going to pull the trigger and they're going to take that deal because it makes sense. We have a good running back cupboard. And why wouldn't we keep Jordan Mason? Exactly. Why wouldn't we keep Jordan Mason over Elijah Mitchell, already having, Christian McCaffrey and others on the squad who can play without him there? So I don't know. I think you're right. If the right deal comes along, they're going to take it. Yeah. It's a business.
And going back to that comment, let's focus on the fact that Christian McCaffrey is the clear running back one on this roster.
No doubt.
So everyone else we're talking about is a backup.
Yes.
He's not even running back one. He's running back like AAA.
0.
Man.
Yeah.
Like 4A, 5A.
Gold
like,
star,
yeah,
VIP.
Yeah.
Exactly.
He's running back infinity at this point, right? Because
he's like your 5.0 AP class. Right?
So no one should be broken up about trading a backup, no matter how good he is, no matter how much we like him. Running back 0, the seed, is still going to get 90% of the carries. And that's final. We know that's happening.
That is 100%. It's not like you get a sub out Christian McCaffrey on third down, right? Also, I really like Melissa's question here. Quick question, not to start anything, but I'm the only one who doesn't trust all the health reports. Who's done on camp, Hurd, Kinlaw, Trent Taylor, Jet, Pettis. Literally anybody Trent Taylor ever drafted, etc. Sorry, I just added that in at the end, Melissa, because we were all thinking it. So I just figured, what the hell? Let's just go with that, right? But yeah, same deal. Yeah, like I've heard some. It's like when guys come into spring training and they've lost 20 pounds. And we know why they lost 20 pounds, but when they come into spring training and they've lost 20 pounds, we're like, yeah, he's in the best shape of his life. He's so agile now. He's flexible. Thinks it's going to help him reduce injury and inflammation, etc., etc. Right? Every year. And then they get pushed off the line like, nobody's business in a playoff game. And then we're like, what the hell, man? I thought that surgery was going to fix that. No, you weren't really healthy, were you? Can't imagine who I was talking about there. But anyways, yeah.
All right. Little wide receiver chat. I know some people in the chat are talking about Deebo Samuel and Brandon Ayuk. Melissa prefers Brandon Ayuk over Deebo Samuel. What do you guys think? Ty, what do you think?
Wait, what's the question? Like
Deebo Samuel
all right.
or Brandon Ayuk?
It's not okay. So it's not even F, marry or kill, right? It's marry or kill Deebo or Brandon Ayuk. That's what it sounds like to me. Let's just summarize this.
Exactly.
Yeah.
One or the other. Make a decision.
Somebody, can we just have a little?
Oh wait, no. It's what do we do here? It's a cut, bench, start. So in this case, it would be cut or start. There's no bench.
It's cut or start. No in between, right?
Pardon me.
Yeah.
There's no bench.
Cut or bench. Cut or start. Okay, so that's it.
What's up, Ryan?
So like if this was a reality show called The Ultimatum,
right?
You had to pick one, right?
There could only be one wide receiver one. Yes.
Oh, here we go. Highlander. There can be only one. I'm for my money, I'm going Brandon Ayuk. Simply because he's the more polished receiver. He's a better receiver. You need that number one guy on the outside. We got CMC who can run the ball and also catch. We got a bunch of other receivers, that can do things. So I'm going Ayuk. That would be me. I'm keeping them both in an ideal situation, but for this scenario, I'll go with Ayuk.
Do you actually see us keeping both?
I do. I think they're going to find a way to work something out. I think there's some salary cap trickery going on. We get some money next year and it's going to go up. some things is going to happen.
Yeah, I could see us keeping both as well. But I think I'm going to go with Brandon Ayuk as well. Maddie, what do you think?
This is really tough. And I think the reason we all really want to tend to gravitate towards Brandon Ayuk is because he's a different type of receiver than Deebo Samuel is, right? Like Deebo and Christian McCaffrey kind of like make each other redundant in a way, but Christian McCaffrey does it from the running back slot specifically, outside of when he comes out to do slot receiver stuff or whatever, as opposed to the way Deebo does it, right? As he comes in and acts like a running back, et cetera, et cetera. Deebo is like one of the most best utilized gadget players ever, right? I don't know if there were so many players that were so underutilized back in the day. I look at a guy like an Eric Metcalf, who like was completely underutilized with Cleveland, and then he went and he was like a slot receiver in Atlanta on the run and shoot, and they used him for a lot of different things there. But I see that with Deebo. Like I almost feel like he's almost confined now. Like he's in a box. Does that make sense? Like I feel like he's kind of trapped in this offense where he's designed to be the wide receiver, when in reality he needs to be like, he kind of needs to be like what Tyreek Hill is for the Dolphins. He needs to be their pulse. He needs to be their guy that gets them moving, that takes that 6-yard slant and goes the other way, right? Like you expect Brandon Ayuk to get that slant and get the first down for 15, 20 yards and keep the drive moving and make that solid red zone catch after Purdy scrambles around for a little while. With Deebo, you kind of expect him to get that play and then break it out down the sidelines or cut it back, towards the middle. Like he's really good at cutting back. So it's just, I think that's why we all want to take Ayuk. Like at the end of the day, I would like a bunch of home run hitters, right? Like I would love to keep Deebo over Ayuk, but you need that guy that's going to consistently move the chains. And to me, Brandon Ayuk is going to move the chains more. So I would keep Ayuk. And I also think the way he plays, I think he would actually last a little longer, right? In terms of like health and stuff like that. He's not going to have as much wear and tear because Brandon Ayuk hasn't been playing tailback part-time either.
Becca, what do you think of Ryan's question?
Well, I think Ayuk has shown that he is growing year over year. He's improving. He's constantly working on improving himself. And I think that's demonstrated by some of, the catches he's made and the improvement and the plays he's in. Deebo, self-admitted, fell off last year. And I think that was his mental attitude towards his contract year and letting that get to him in a way that, was very emotional. And he said as much, in talking about it there during OTAs and what have you. But, it's a really tough choice. I mean, Deebo's great at exactly what you said, Matt, being that hybrid guy where you don't know necessarily how we're going to bring him in and play him. And you're right, he is a little more redundant now with Christian McCaffrey on the team. But I just think, Ayuk has continued to work hard and improved year over year and is out there doing his thing. I don't know. I tend to want to lean Ayuk, but I also, it's a 50-50 for me on this question of who to keep. If I can't bench one and I have to absolutely get rid of one, I'm probably flipping a coin because for me, I think it's that close to who you keep. I don't know.
To jump back on Ryan's point there, like if I don't think Ayuk's going to be that fourth option, like because next year he's under contract for an extra year. For the 5th-year option's already been picked up, so that's it. After that, I don't know if he's going to leave somewhere to go. Like, is there going to be a better situation for him? You know what I mean? Like, who's going to have all the free agency money when it's time for him to be a free agent? Will that team be as good as the 49ers are? If the 49ers win a Super Bowl, right. Will that do things, right? Some guys do the Alvin Harper. Alvin Harper was an absolute 49ers killer. I probably shouldn't even say his name on these podcasts. for all the things that he did to this franchise. But then he went to Tampa Bay to be the number one. And he played more like number two, just in a different sense in that scenario, right? Because he didn't have Michael Irvin on the other side to, draw the coverage and things of that nature. So I think you're probably going to have Debo and Brandon Ayuk this year and next year, unless there's some sort of craziness that goes on. But I think when it comes to Brandon Ayuk hitting the market, that's when they're going to make that decision, right? That's when they're going to decide one or the other. I think you've got them this year and probably next year, but I think the year after is really next offseason is really going to be that time when they're like, they're going to have to decide between Obi-Wan and Anakin is really what it boils down to. So.
Oh, sorry.
Oh, wait. No, I'm showing Gina. That's Gina, everybody. Say, hey, Gina.
What's up, Gina?
She's repping the Bay, but she's in the Big Apple. So, hey, Gina.
Awesome.
I'll be doggone.
It is not camo. It's just this, like, I don't know, distressed, dark. It's almost like a matted black. It's a weird kind of fabric, too. I don't even know how old this hat is, but it's got like a blackish green logo. I don't know if you can see that, but I love this hat. It's I wear it all the time.
It is a nice hat.
Yeah.
Hey,
going back to Ryan's comment for a minute, if
Yeah,
if Ayuk hits free agency, that's when the business of football comes in,
Yeah.
right? And we know these players are going to make the decision and do what's best for them. And we know teams like to overpay for players sometimes. Like if a team throws a boatload of money at him and he takes it, he takes it. Nothing we can do. That's why it's called free agency. These players are allowed to do what they want to do. So we can't sit back and be, I can't believe they didn't keep him. No, he wanted to go.
The Laken
Right.
Tomlinson, if you will.
Exactly. So we'll cross that bridge when we come to it, but I'm pretty sure that, John and company would like to keep him around as long as they can.
all right, let's talk a little O-line. We got Trent Williams,
They go.
Aaron Banks, Jake Brendel, Spencer Burford, Colt McKivitz. Who takes a big step forward this season?
Well, I think it has to be Colton McKivitz. I'll just jump right in instead of you telling me to go because I
Yes,
apparently
please.
can't contain myself.
Please.
Like I'm
Been 2
We
weeks.
got a better
Officially.
connection, and now he's
I
just,
know.
He's like, I gotta
I
get this
actually
in
trust
before
that
my
when I talk, I'm
connection
just not
drops.
going to freeze and crash. So it's really actually very exciting. No, I think it's going to be McKivitz. It has to be McKivitz, right? Kind of at the end of the day, based on what he's going to be doing and who he's going to be filling in for, the shoes that he's going to have to be doing. So the step from where he played last year to what he's going to have to do this year, to me, it's got to be McKivitz. Followed up by Burford, who's going to have to get through 4 quarters now. He's not going to have somebody coming in to swap him out.
Ty, what do you think?
Yeah, I'm picking Spencer Burford. I think he'll take a step up in his second year. He was kind of just thrown into the fire last season, which is something we don't normally do. We normally redshirt a guy, keep him on the bench, on the practice squad. He was thrown right in there. So I think with a year under his belt, some tutelage with some other guys on the line, he'll take a big step up, which will be great for us.
Becca, what do you think?
Yeah, Colt McKivitz was my guy that I was going to pick in that answer. I think he's, he has the most, I don't know, I feel like opportunity to really step up and improve and show what he can do. And needs to,
And is being given the reign to do so.
And yeah,
right?
Here it is. It's yours.
Yeah.
He was told that early on, right? Like it's yours to lose. So
Unless you really, really suck, this is your
Yeah.
chance. You're gonna work it out. It's the Anthony Volpe scenario. You're either gonna figure it out or you're just gonna really suck for a long time.
Right.
Like that's it. It's one or the other.
Yep, exactly. That's a good analogy. Yep. So I think Colton is the one I would pick for that reason.
I'm going to go with the entire offensive line.
Wow.
Well, yeah.
Because there's been a bit of continuity.
Very
I mean, I know
democratic.
Colton McKivitz never started at right tackle, but he's been on that offensive line, and I think them as a unit they're going to have a strong season. And I love Chris Forrester. I think he's a very underrated O-line coach. So yeah, shout out to him because he gave the faithful a shout out on the state of the franchise.
He most certainly did.
What's not fair, Ryan?
What have you done now, Jess?
I know.
Oh, I think because she took a neutral stance on and picking the whole
Yep.
entire
Okay.
Exactly.
Well, that's
Being so politically
very
correct there.
diplomatic of
Wow.
you. To
I wasn't
Yeah.
trying to be. That's honestly what I think.
Everyone.
I love it.
The game show is the ultimatum. You gotta pick
Yes,
one.
yes. For those of you who don't know, when Bryant Cole puts pineapples, it's actually the fire emoji. But he uses the pineapples because of George Kittle's video. So there's just a buttload of pineapples in the chat as I go through it. So that's what that means.
I feel like that's not what the pineapples were covering up, but I understand.
Exactly.
Different sort of pineapple load there, I guess.
Back in the Steve Irwin days, there was on the Tonight Show, Jay Leno had an intern named Ross who went to do an episode with Steve Irwin. And Steve Irwin was like, if you need a safe word, let's pick one now. And if you feel threatened, you just say your word. And he chose pineapple. So every time like that, all I could hear was pineapple, pineapple, pineapple. This intern screaming pineapple the whole episode with Steve Irwin as a wrestling alligator was very funny.
Yep. Shout out to George Kittle.
Yes, but the Kittle pineapple is different.
It's weird having an O-line that's not up in the air. Yeah.
Exactly.
I mean, you would think that Colt McKivitz, can be a little bit of an unknown, sort of. But we'll obviously wait and see. But I think that, like I said, the O-line as a unit will do fine.
I want to
talk a little bit about kickers.
We can.
What were you going to say, Maddie?
I want to follow up on Melissa's question real
Okay.
quick, or statement, really, if you will. It's kind of weird not to have anything really outside of this kind of Purdy thing, which really isn't really lingering. We all kind of know that as long as he doesn't have a setback, he's starting week 1. Really, nothing's in the air, right? Really, for the entire.
I was
Like I said, if he doesn't
repeat
have a
that?
setback or anything else, like nothing with this team is really
he
in the air
mumbled it. He
outside
said,
of the
as long as
kicker.
you don't
Yeah,
have a
Maddie,
setback.
I feel like you're whispering. Are you
No,
whispering?
he did that on purpose.
Yeah,
He was
I was a
like,
little bit.
Purdy
Yeah.
doesn't have a setback.
Because I'm like, wow, is it my earbuds or is Maddie whispering?
No, I was 100% doing that. I was
He
like,
was slipping it in there.
I didn't. I was just.
Yeah.
I was trying to be again. Try to hit the angle, but at the same time, not really say it too loudly because I didn't want that to actually.
Well, you're just gonna have to repeat it because it was just
Right. What?
it failed.
Now I got to. Now I had to circle back on it, right? And now it's been given all the attention. So
Right.
great. Anywho, as I was saying, really outside of that and kicker, is really anything in the air at this point with this team? Like, there's a few spots here or there that it's up in the air, but in terms of like, I don't know, what are we going to get off the defensive line? I'm pretty sure what we're going to get off the defensive line this year. I'm pretty sure I know what we're going to get from the linebackers this year. I feel pretty confident about what we're going to get from the secondary this year. I think this defense is going to be like a finely tuned Death Star this year. I'd say probably around week 7 or 8 is really when it's going to hit its stride. I think that's when the Steve Wilkes effect will really hit it.
The candlestick dirt. That's right.
Candlestick dirt.
Mhm. Shaking the dirt.
It's all I got, man. It's all I got.
That's right. Shaking
How
the
do you
dirt.
got to get the sage? You have to get that before the season starts.
Well, I have stuff that, like you can get some oregano, right? You can get some oregano and pretend it's sage. That'd be nice. It'd smell like a nice little Italian restaurant in here. Yeah, it'd be fine.
Watch tonight. I'm going to go on Etsy and just send it to the three of you. Like, here, Sage. Next show, we're all like, oh.
You know what we need to do?
We'll have a
we need to
seance at midnight under the moon and charge our crystals.
we need to get we need to talk to
Say prayers
Steve,
for the night. Positive
Steve the Sage Man
affirmations.
photographer. That's the guy we need to get. Like he's got the good stuff. He can send it cross country.
Yes. I love Steve. Steve
That
rocks.
dude, that dude is
That's a very
burning
good
sage
idea.
every single morning, so he cannot ever have a bad day. Basically, is really what it boils down to.
But by sage, you mean the other sage.
No, well, I mean, maybe I don't know about that. I don't advertise what that stuff does. HIPAA, but like in terms of like the actual burning of legitimate sage, there you go. That's what I can go with.
He's a
Seen
fun
that.
guy.
Right.
He's really funny.
Yeah, he's a good guy. I like him. Kickers. I know a few people love kickers. Brian Colt, Ty Alston.
I'm in love
I'm over
with
here
the
like,
kicker.
I got a song in my head. Song in my head, talking about.
Brian Schneider, special teams coach, told the story of Jake Moody on the State of the Franchise. He said that at the workout, there was no long snapper available. So they pretty much just grabbed anybody and gave him a scenario that there was, 12 seconds left. This is your chance to beat Ohio State. Ball was snapped. It bounced on the ground. He didn't think that Jake would kick it. He kicked it and he made it. So that was a cool little story. But my question is, will Kyle Shanahan be more aggressive this season on, let's say, fourth downs because we have Jake Moody and we don't have Robbie Gould? Ty, what do you think?
I don't think so. I think Kyle is Kyle. He'll be the same. He'll gauge what the offense is doing, how they're rolling, the point scenario, and do what he does. He's a young man, but he's an old man in that he's set in his ways.
Mm-hmm.
And we know what to expect from Kyle. And the whole not being aggressive thing, I think, is a bit overrated. Because he takes shots. He does things, right? But he also is smart about football. He knows, all right, if we kick this field goal, we go up 2 scores. We're up 2 scores. That's great. Let's do it. So I think it'll be the same. And I think Jake is a weapon that when that drive stalls, in the 35 to 40 yard range, he knows he has a guy that can put 3 up on the board. So I think it'll be the same. I don't think it'll be more or less aggressive. Just the same.
Becca, what do you think?
I think Kyle is going to know and understand what Jake Moody's skill ability and stretch limits are. And I think, if he's in a situation where it's a stretch and he knows it's a stretch for Jake, he's going to weigh that option and make a decision. But I definitely think if it's something he believes is in Jake's wheelhouse, he's going to push that button every single time he needs that field goal to happen. So if it's a 52-yarder and it's, potentially going to put us up for, the win, short time, whatever, or going in at the half and we get to go up or what have you, he's going to take that shot every time if he knows it's in his guy's potential to do it. Just like he did with Robbie. I mean, he didn't care what the conditions were. He's going to put Robbie's boot on the ball every single time because Robbie proved himself to be able to do that. I think, Jake Moody has that potential too. He's played in, Michigan and some other kind of weather, but, Kyle's also going to know and understand what his limit is and where he might potentially fail because they're going to put him through scenarios like Ty just described. Here's this urgent situation. Hit this, what are you going to do? Are you going to grab the ball? You're going to fall on it? You're going to pick it up, or you're going to try to kick that. And the guy kicked it and did his thing. So, I think mentally he's going to understand what the kicker's going to think and try and do and understand how he's going to react. And Kyle's going to make a decision because he's going to know his player and he's going to know what he's capable of. So he's going to make the best decision for the team.
Maddie, what do you think?
I'm really not impressed because he should have done a drop kick. If he'd done a drop kick, then maybe I would have been impressed.
He's like,
I'm just kidding. Just kidding. There's no.
I roll.
I would not. Like if he had done a drop kick, like you would have just had to draft him. You'd have to draft him to like a lifetime contract or whatever the max thing is for like a third rounder. Like you'd have to max him out on that. I think it kind of what Becca said. Like it really. I kind of agree on that point. I also agree with Ty's point as well. It's really going to depend to me on how Jake Moody looks, right? If he's got a case of the yips on the extra points, he's got a case of the yips on random field goal attempts, like then he's probably gonna ride the offense a little bit more. If he's pretty consistent, then he's gonna take the consistency as opposed to rolling the dice. Kyle wants to get points wherever he can because he knows a lot of times. Sometimes that missing that 3 points comes back to bite you a lot more than missing the 7. So that's typically, and you've seen that a lot with his team where it's like, geez, how do they only have 22 points? How do they only have?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's like going back and watching some of the old games from like after 84, like 85, 86, 87. You go back and it's like, wow, they had like 400 passing yards and they scored like 17 points. How does that even happen? Right? Like what is going on in the red zone? Is nothing going on in the red zone? Are we just standing around dancing? Like what is happening?
Boy, this feels like teams of recent years. Like
right. Like it's the same
about red zone. We have this great potential.
Time is a flat circle, my friend. So yeah, that's really what it boils down to. So it just, that's the sort of deal. And they don't, now that you actually have weapons everywhere, right? You've got a red zone tight end. What 2 things you need to be successful in the red zone? Well, three things. 1, you need a good running game. 2, you need a good tight end. And 3, you need a running back who can catch passes out of the backfield and everything breaks down into hell in a handbasket, right? And the 49ers have all 3. And they've also got a couple of really good wide receivers. Fun fact. Oh, and a fullback who can do fullbacky things.
Who can play the position.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, Brock Purdy's first action, not his first start when he had to come in, his first touchdown was to Juszczyk. Why? Because he was the one who was open coming out of the backfield. Not a lot of other teams had that option for him. Yep. He was wide open. Like if he'd missed that, he probably would have had to turn back around, sit down, think about his life a little bit. Different choices.
And speaking of Juice, did they not say in the state of the franchise that he's the first fullback to make the Pro Bowl year after year for X number of years in a row since Jim Brown?
Yep.
With something like ridiculous, like Juice, that our guy. Yeah.
Yeah.
Juice.
There's a long history of good number 44s in the backfield of the 49ers.
Yeah,
so,
no doubt.
Sure is.
Absolutely.
I was a little pissy. I'm not gonna lie. When Juice took that number when he came to the Niners, I was like, don't.
It is kind of, yeah.
That's the great.
You
How
better earn it. That's the way I look at it.
Yeah,
you better earn
exactly.
it, right?
You got to earn that number.
Exactly. Yeah. I will fight you. I will come take you out myself.
Becca's gonna bring her candlestick dirt with her.
I'm gonna dash you over the head with it.
I will dirt
not play well.
Every team has a number like that, right? Like the Yankees have 23, the Red Sox have 24. Like if you better wear that number, you better not be some scrub coming up from Worcester or Scranton.
Passenger side of
TLC better not have done a song about you, sir. Thank you.
Right. Nothing in that song rhymes with Juice, but
if you felt attacked in that song, you should not be wearing that number. Is really what it boils down to.
If you can identify,
if you're like, wow, I feel like they were talking directly to me, you need to get another number, sir. Go like number 50. Thanks.
Pick a new number.
Right.
Yeah. Yes, my Tom. Don't you dare.
All right, let's talk a little quarterbacks. No Brock Purdy questions at the state of the franchise. I was shocked, actually.
Because they ran it. There was no quarterback talk at all. Do you know that?
Yeah.
That's what happens.
Besides what Greg Papa did, I took this little nugget from him. He said that Trey Lance looks the best ever that he's ever been.
Oh yeah.
So I took that little nugget away from him. But yeah, no.
So what does that
Actually,
mean?
before I get to the quarterbacks,
Before we get to the
John
quarterbacks, let me just jump back on that
Go
real
ahead.
quick. What does
Yep.
that mean? Does that mean he's improved so much that, like, damn, we should really be looking at him? Or is it like, wow, he was really not as good as we thought he was the first couple of years, and now he's like doing the things we thought he was going to do? There's a lot of variations on that. He looked as good as he ever been. It might be like the greatest compliment of all time, or it could be like,
A
yeah,
backhand
now we're
kick.
expecting. Yeah, now we're really
Does it-
excited.
Or does it mean I never really paid attention to him before,
There's always option
and
3.
now I'm really looking at him?
Correct, right?
Right?
Or
You don't know.
you don't know.
That's why you got to
Such a blankety term. That's why.
Exactly. It's very open ended.
I
I don't think we'll get
when
much
the
for him,
Raiders,
Brian.
when the Raiders got rid of Brent Musburger, I thought to myself, they're going to make a move for Greg Papa. They're going to try to get him back. They're going to try to get Greg into the desert so that Greg can make gambling picks, right? Like that seemed like it would be kind of up his alley, but they did not make that move. I guess they didn't reach out to Greg's people.
Yep.
So it's good to have Greg here. I say that because you never know who's going to be a guest on the show, kids. Right? Like at the end of the day,
Exactly.
like it doesn't.
This is very true.
Yeah.
You never
Okay,
know who
Greg.
could be a friend of the show at any time.
Hey, boo, hey.
Hey. I can't. So John Lynch talked about how they brought up Javon Hargrave to Jed York, which I thought was kind of a funny story. He pretty much
Yeah.
said like it was almost like going on a first date.
Yeah.
He was like, should we say it this way? Should we say it that way? And Jed pretty much replied, as long as he's a difference maker. And then they alluded to the fact that it was Javon Hargrave that, they wanted to go after. So the fact that this regime communicates, just the culture they brought, I mean, they seem to be, I know it's the state of the franchise and people think like, oh, there's nothing to it, whatever, but they just seem to be very optimistic, very excited. I feel like this is a different year. I definitely feel like we can win it all this year. We just have to stay healthy at the most important position. Do you guys share that sentiment?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
There's too much
Absolutely.
talent on this team to like not. If they aren't minimum in the NFC title game again this year, like if they're not basically in the NFC title game by default, like I want to know what the hell went wrong,
Yeah.
right? Like I want to know what went off course because
And
there's
so will
really
everyone
no.
at the top.
Yeah, there's no.
Right.
There's no real thing about it. Like Seattle's going to have a little bit of a tougher schedule this year than they had last year, so I think Seattle's going to come back down to earth a little bit. I think Philadelphia is going to come back down to earth a little bit, not because they're going to be bad, but one, they lost one of their best players, right, on that defensive line. That's a big deal. And you don't just replace players like that on the defensive line, no matter what you do, no matter who you draft, right? There's still going to be a little bit of a time frame to get some things kind of rolling there. And then second, if you look at the division itself, they should win like going away, right? If Arizona isn't a 2-0 sweep this year, I'm going to cry on the air. Like there's absolutely no
Me
reason
too.
to lose a single game to them. There's not a reason to lose a single game to the Rams. Both of those teams to me are both in transition years. I think the Rams are going to try to sneak up, right?
Yes,
Philly
they
lost
did.
their coordinators. And there's also just that the team that loses the Super Bowl tends to not have the best year the next year. Right? Like outside of that one Patriots one where they lost to Philly and came back and beat the Rams the next year, like there's not recent history. Most of your Super Bowl runners up don't bounce back the next year all that hot. So I could see that being a little bit of a trickle down. Plus the NFC East is going to be a much tougher division than the NFC West, quite frankly, right? Dallas is going to be decent. Giants are going to be better. You want to look at something scary. Go look at Josh Allen's stats, as he grows, and then compare those to Daniel Jones stats, and then remember that the guy that cooked up the Josh Allen stuff is now the guy cooking up the stuff for Daniel Jones, right? So, and Josh Allen didn't have a Saquon Barkley in the backfield, so that team being decent at the same time almost makes you a little bit nauseous. but
Mhm.
that makes that division a little tougher. And then you also can't forget about Washington, which, another team that's going to be faced on New Year's Eve. They've got Eric Bieniemy, who's in some ridiculous reason, he has to prove it as an OC somewhere else. I guess that's how that works. Doesn't make any sense to me, but what do I know? I'm just a fat old white guy from Maine, right? But that's all I know. But he's got to go to Washington and remake some competition there, and he's going to do it with Ron Rivera as a head coach. So I'm going to be real interested to see what that team does, because if Sam Howell is somewhat consistent, they've got some weapons there to be a gigantic pain in the ass. So the NFC East is going to be a dogfight pretty much the whole year.
Well, hopefully the dogfighting is infighting in the division. So if they're going to really tear each other up. But to your point, Jess, on the whole state of the franchise, it is a very rosy, optimistic projection to the season ticket holders, to the stakeholders, the fans. They want to tell you the best of the best and not talk about any negative stuff. It's never a negative meeting, in my opinion, right? Like, they don't want to bring up the potentials for what could go wrong or how things could go south quickly, or where we could trip up. It's always a very rah kind of, here's where we're strong, this is what we've done, this is how we're building us up and how we're going to be better this year. But I mean, for this particular year, I think it's set on some solid foundation. Like, we are a good team, and we came out of last year, probably should have played in the Super Bowl, but obviously we know why, and everybody, I think, has that sting and that bitter taste. So they're going to come in with a little bit of an attitude and wanting that, claw that back. So I'm hoping that translates on the field, and we don't have any player issues, health issues, and none of those things. And the teams that could trip us up, like week 1 against the Giants at home on a Thursday night, or a home opener on a Thursday night, week 3 technically, right? So, we could have somebody like the Giants come in and play to their potential and surprise everyone. Or we could knock the teeth out of them because they're not who they think they are, which is what I would prefer.
I would prefer that too. And you know what? Levi's is going to be rocking.
Oh, it's going to be a madhouse. I'm going to have a couple Giant fans with me. So
I'm thinking about raffling off my 2 tickets to that game. By the way, I was thinking about maybe doing that. I think that might be a good time, because I don't think I'm going to be able to make it to that one just because of the way life works. So yeah, I think that might be a good idea. I think that's going to be a hot ticket.
yeah, well, let's talk, because I might need.
Do that too.
I know.
Do that too. You're very familiar with the section. Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
So, yes,
Very familiar.
very familiar with the section.
Yeah, I was thinking that too.
Mhm.
Might need tickets.
Exactly.
I
So I
remember
thought- I
the old
don't-
days, like the early 2000s, when you could buy tickets on eBay. Like, you could bid on them.
Yep.
Like, you could put the tickets up on eBay. And just
You know,
bid
the
on
other
them.
day
bid on
I
them.
actually went on eBay just
Yeah.
to kind of just see what's on there, and the prices are outrageous.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah, well, that's why you gotta filter it down too. You gotta look for only auction items. Don't look any of the buy it now items. The buy it now items are absolutely insane.
Everyone's doing buy it now and
Yeah, everybody's-
overpricing.
Yeah, because they think somebody's going to get drunk one night and think that they want to spend $844 on that,
Mhm.
2-year Jordan rookie that's graded 8,
Yeah.
right? Like, no, that's a $20 card, so stop it, right? Like, it's ridiculous. It's absolutely crazy. So that's just what they do. So you've got to filter it. You've got to search harder, but there's things on there. But yeah, it used to be you could buy tickets on there. Yeah, hell of a deal. Of course,
Now
now you can even get the
never
physical
buy.
tickets. So yeah.
Who
Now you
would
gotta
buy
pay
them on eBay and not think that they're legit, or
But we'll buy them from Instagram DMs, right? Like,
No.
what
That's
the
right.
hell?
That's true.
who does
Crazy.
that? People do that?
Yeah,
Yeah.
people do that.
Oh
Yeah.
no, unless I know you, I ain't buying none of that. The not through a DM on Instagram.
Actually, one site that I do stay away from is StubHub.
Yeah, the fees on that are
They're
absolutely
ridiculous. Exactly. It's
insanity.
Not
ridiculous.
just the fees,
It's like
but I've heard,
Ticketmaster's
horror
little
stories
sister. Absolutely ridiculous.
in the past about
I'm
duplicate
not-
tickets
I've
and
had
stuff like that.
problems. The only
Really?
StubHub issue
Yeah.
I had was Yankees Boston tickets in Boston. Yeah, but they refunded my money.
Good.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
All right, so I said I was going to talk about the quarterbacks, but I don't want to talk about the quarterbacks.
I don't know what the yeah. All I feel is like the girls like this sort of
What's
hate
that, Ty?
and discontent when we talk about quarterbacks.
What did you say, Ty?
I said, okay, nah.
Yeah.
He's like,
Cool.
I just
whatever,
like
be
I was
that
sitting
way.
here and I was like, you know what? I don't want to talk about the. Let's talk about defense.
Let's talk about defense.
Unless there's something you
Defense.
want to say, Ty, by all means.
I love all four quarterbacks. We got the strongest quarterback room in the league.
We
Correct.
do.
And no 49ers quarterback is going to get injured this season. So we're sitting pretty.
It's fine.
Number
Everything's
6,
great.
here we come.
Number 6.
There
You
you
heard
go.
it here, Ty Alston.
That's not 6 quarterbacks. It's a 6 Super Bowl ring, by the way. Just in
Yeah.
case anybody
I
needed
said
that clarity.
Lombardi, number
Just-
6.
Yeah, yeah.
Exactly.
There we go. Just to,
We're just
for everybody at home.
clarifying that. That's all.
yeah, we just want to
Exactly.
reframe that and make sure everybody understood.
Yeah, that's right.
All right. So Steve Wilkes said on his one-on-one interview with Lindsay Polaris that he doesn't
interview.
want to be a defense that just sits back and reacts to the offense. He wants to be aggressive. He also confirmed that he will be up in the booth because he wants to give himself space from the emotions on the sideline.
Mhm.
He tries to remove himself from that so he can get ahead with his calls, and he's calmer and relaxed up in the booth. What do you think of him being more aggressive, and as well as his thoughts of being up in the booth and not being that rah-rah guy that we had with Robert Saleh and D'Amico Ryans? Becca, how about you go first?
Well, I mean, I think that might be a little bit of a change for the guys on the field, but they seem to like him. I mean, I've not heard a single player who has had anything to say negatively about Steve Wilkes. I mean, to Matt's point before, it's not neutral. It's all very positive. Like, we love the way he coaches. We like his insight. Everything he's saying is really, really, really cool and great and different. We like the way he coaches. He's, clicked from day one. So you hear all of these things where they're saying very positive things and not just plain vanilla, like, no, we're adapting. It's going well. Things are good. These very benign comments. So I think the team likes him. And if he's making adjustments that are turning into great things, even like, not to switch topics, but someone said when Christian got here, he wasn't used to being coached the way he was being coached, and he was open to that. And I hear that same thing from the defensive players that, hey, we're open to what Steve Wilkes is saying to us and how he tries to coach players. So I think they like what he's doing and they see positive effects of it. But I think that's where you have your captains and your other defensive coaches on the field who are going to also be that rah-rah guy. Steve Wilkes is going to be up there objectively looking at factually what's happening on the field. He's not going to be there to slap your hand, you're behind, give you a hug, whatever you need. The rest of the coaches can do that if that's what someone needs. They can handle the emotional side, but I think everyone likes what Steve Wilkes is doing and the way he's already, changing the coaching on the field. So I don't know that it's going to be majorly impactful. I think it'll be a little bit of a change, but they'll get used to that as we start through camp and everything. So by the season, I think they'll be used to it, and it'll just be second nature by the time the season starts.
Ty, what do you think?
Yeah, it's fine. Him removing himself from the emotion of it, I get it. He's a guy that likes to focus on the task at hand. You could just hear when he speaks. He's a very focused, task-oriented guy. So he wants to stay in the moment of the game and get away from slapping, high five with guys and doing all that stuff.
Mhm.
He wants to stay focused on the game and go, okay, we did this on this drive. On the next drive, we're going to do X, Y, and Z. Him being more aggressive, we kind of saw that with Robert Saleh early in his days, while he was very aggressive on defense. I think he knows we got the horses, the players to do that, to be aggressive, to be physical, to attack, to have the defense attack the offense, which leads to turnovers and things like that. So that's great. And he doesn't need to be on the sideline, right? He's a guy that likes to see the whole picture. So him being up in the booth benefits us. And just his presence and his command, I'm sure the players will feel his presence even though he isn't there. Fred Warner commented that, he has grabbed the attention of the entire defense in his short amount of time there. So that tells you, he's already has the command and the respect of the players. And we've heard various defensive guys talk glowingly about him, as Rebecca said. So it'll be totally fine. And I think it for him, it benefits us. So I'm all for it.
Maddie, what do you think?
It reminds me of when Pete Carroll took over as defensive coordinator, kind of coming off that head coach thing, right? And he kind of slides in. Like, we've got this bonus coach. It's unbelievable. This is the exact opposite thing that the Patriots tried to do last year. Like, they get this former head coach. They're like, oh, I'll just plug him as an offensive coordinator. Yeah, that didn't work. In this case, they actually took the guy who was really good and should be a head coach somewhere, who was a really good head coach in a really good situation last year, right? In a really bad situation, right? He made it a really good situation for those guys and who was left. And they could have won a division. Like, they could have traded away their best player and won a division, guys. That's absolutely insane to me, but whatever. It's the NFL. What are you going to do? It's also the NFC South. Poverty division. So what are you going to do there, right? It's just you got nothing. You got nothing there. But that's just how that works. He's just got this like assassin thing about him, and I feel like he's going to be a little more assassin-y up in the booth, right? Like, just stepping away from the butt slapping and everything else that you've got to do that Saleh had to do. Like, those butt slapping minutes are valuable, like tactician minutes, right? Like, you got to change. There's a lot of things that changed. And a lot of times that defense would get pretty tired at the end of games. Well, now all of a sudden you've got enough horses on the defensive line to basically rotate everybody through whatever you want to rotate them through. You get enough depth on the defensive in the defensive backfield right now to do that. You've got good linebackers. So this defense could be, next gen, right? And there was a point last year where this defense statistically was as good as the 01 Ravens and the 85 Bears to a certain point, and then they just kind of ran out of gas. I don't think that's going to happen this year. I think they're just going to get better and better and better. This could be a generational defense this year if they stay healthy. And Steve Wilkes is going to be the reason for that.
And real quick, Rebecca made a great point of we have enough positional coaches that they can be rah-rah guys for their groups. Like, I don't care who our defensive coordinator is. No one is going to be out-hype Chris Kasarik for the defensive line.
Nobody.
And I think Melissa even said it in the chat too. As I started reading, I was like, yes, Melissa is right there with me. Yeah.
No one's out hyping him.
Exactly.
To go back to that point, Ty, like, the unsung heroes of this team are the position coaches.
Are the position coaches.
Every position coach is like, if you go back to every single like NFL dynasty around, there were the hidden guys, right? All over the place.
Jim Tom Sula was that guy for how many years for us?
Let's go. John McVay, right? Like, just that understood thing. And then you had Ray Rhodes when he was the offensive coordinator, the defensive coordinator. There are a lot of guys that do that, but Kacherik, Dante Scarnecchia, who used to be in New England, Tom Moore, who used to, wherever Peyton Manning was, there'd be Tom Moore, Howard Mudd. Like those guys go somewhere. Wade Phillips, when he's a coordinator, when those guys go somewhere, the defense becomes really, really good. Well, now we've got a guy who really should be a head coach. I cannot stress that enough. Someone needs to fix that injustice probably in like 4 to 5 years after we've won like 6 or 7 more Super Bowls. I don't know.
Let us hold on for a couple of years.
Let's hold on for a little bit.
I know,
Hopefully
right?
he gets really comfortable here
Shake
and
the
really
dirt
crushes
on that
it.
one.
Yeah,
My
shake the
God.
dirt on that one.
I'm tired of losing DCs.
Yeah, I'm tired of
Yeah.
recycling
Yes,
through.
exactly.
I don't want this to be like the Alabama offensive coordinator position where every year there's a reclamation project. Oh, come on home, Lane Kiffin and Steve Sarkisian and Bill O'Brien, like, you know, and just rotate through with them. Like, I don't want to create a defensive coordinator factory here in New England.
We've got the carousel working.
Like in that. No, I want the defensive coordinator stability. Like I want Steve Wilkes to be here long term. I want him paid like he's the greatest head coach. I want him to be like, listen, I don't ever want to leave this place. Like this is great. I love it. Right. That's what I want to see from Steve
Well,
Wilkes.
and you even heard that from Kyle and John talking about, you know, the fact that he had head coaching experience. And those were some of the questions they had for him in his interview about what he would do and how he would approach things, you know, the football side of it. But then it's like, now how you're going to communicate and how you're going to, you know, make contact with our people, how you're going to interact. And apparently that those interviews went well with the players. You know, they let defensive players talk to him and the feedback was really great. So, I mean, it's probably the best case scenario you could ever imagine stepping into when you lose D'Amico Ryans, you know, after losing Robert Saleh, and now you bring in this guy, and it's yeah, we hit the lottery. Really, we did when we were able to get him. So I'm excited, and if he sits in the booth, he sits in the booth. They
fell up.
Yeah.
Right. They
Either way.
fell up. They fell
Yes,
in. They fell up.
exactly.
Like
Right.
Carolina decided to go in a
Mhm.
different direction, and they fell up.
Mhm.
So it worked out great.
Or you married up.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Whatever.
Something you
Yeah.
guys get to do.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think we miss a beat.
I definitely had
Not
to
at
every
all.
time I've done it. So yeah, it's
Not
totally
at all.
fine.
Before we move on, make sure you like and subscribe to us, the East Coast Red and Gold, on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
Amen.
And that's how it's read.
Right. And that's how we do it now. Right? Like that's what we've got for
And
a
you can
read.
also visit us on iesportsradio.com/East Coast Red and Gold.
I thought you said both
Um,
of them. I'm sorry. That was my fault. I didn't realize I didn't
That's
realize
okay.
you were handing that over.
Yeah, that's
I
okay.
thought we were ready to eat dinner. That's my fault. My bad.
Good job, Maddie.
Matt, who usually never misses a beat.
I know.
Unbelievable. Do better.
We take back all of our comments in the chat.
As you should. As you should. Take them, put them away, put them in a drawer, never look at them again. Yeah.
The reader card.
I don't know. You know what? Now that he cleaned up his like connection issues, now it's like, woo.
Yeah.
I
Now you're
know.
like,
It's
did
a
we
whole
really
different
want this?
person.
Yeah, it's a whole different deal.
Right.
Yeah, we came back from Dubai and some changes, folks.
Someone's got a little rust.
During our that's right. We had our bye week last
We
week.
were just talking about it earlier today, too. We were just talking about it. And it just
bragging
went,
on
woo,
that.
right over his head. Oh, I have a fun fact about Steve Wilkes. He is a pasta guy. And he also said that the food from the Niners facility is the best of any organization that he's ever had.
That's amazing.
I've heard a lot of
There you
reporters
go, Chef
comments about the
Nina
food there
feeding
too.
well.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have too.
So they're really on their A game in the food department.
Good stuff.
Yeah. Shout out to the cafeteria.
Yeah. So has our defense improved with the additions of Javon Hargrave, Oliver, Brown, Winters, etc.? Maddie?
Yes, because you have Steve Wilkes as the dude putting it all together. To me, like I think they got the guys that they wanted and the types of guys that they wanted in the positions that they have, right? I think they've liked Jimmy Ward. Jimmy Ward's been here a long time, but Kyle was pretty adamant that you're going to be a nickelback or you're not going to play last year, right? It's kind of weird to me. So to me, I think he's been planning this for a little while. You know what I mean? Like he's wanted a certain sort of guy to do something. And Steve Wilkes is going to be very confident in Isaiah Oliver, and they are very confident in Brown. They think they got like a first round talent, where they got him. They're very confident in him. He puts off some Carlton Williamson vibes to me, kind of in that scenario, right? From that whole draft, the Carlton Williamson, Ronnie Lott draft. Where they just went out and drafted the need. They feel like they got their guy to do whatever. So, but having having Hargrave on that line is such a big difference. It's such a game changer. You saw it in the Super Bowl last year. Like Patrick Mahomes, yeah, he's a quarterback and he's the dude. But things switched in that game when Chris Jones said, "I'm going to kick everybody's ass." Right? That was the difference. That was what changed that game. That's what this team was missing last year at times. It's what's going to make Nick Bosa so deadly. Having a guy like that on that line. Having a guy doing that dirty work like Bryant Young used to do. Like that is Michael Carter used to do. That is big news. It's a big upgrade. I mean, they upgraded pretty much kind of everywhere in that aspect. Maybe not so much in the leadership aspect of it, but I think Fred Warner is big enough at this point to kind of be that one dude back there, right? Like, I think they'll be able to sustain the Jimmy Ward loss.
Ty, what do you think?
Yeah, we'll be better. We'll be fine. Remember, we're returning 8 of 11 starters there. So the core of the defensive players are there. They're set. It's just adding on pieces. The 3 pieces we're adding in here are Javon on the line, which is an upgrade. We have a definite number 1 3-down starter at the position. Like, we don't have to take him out the game. We don't have to rotate him unless it's for rest. He can play all 3 downs, right? You got outside of him, the projected starter is going to be I'm drawing a blank. Help me out. From last year, our rookie with the bend, who put on the weight, who looks great.
Drake Jackson.
Jackson. Thank you very much.
I wasn't sure what. Okay, good.
Yeah.
I was like,
we got Drake Jackson, right? We got Drake
coming off it. Drake Jackson's coming off his redshirt year, right?
He's coming off his redshirt year, but he played a lot last year. He got that experience under his belt. And let's not forget, when he played early in the year, he flashed. He was making plays. He was leading the team in batted balls, had like 3-4 sacks. Guy was playing great, right? And then he just kind of hit the wall, but he still played through the season. So now we've heard him in interviews this year. He talked about in the offseason just getting his body right to deal with the physical demands of the full season, which he didn't know about. He did everything the coaches asked him to do. I mean, this is a young guy who's done everything right to take that leap in this next season. So I think that's going to be great. And we know they're going to rotate him. And we brought in a bunch of guys to rotate him. We brought in another power guy, a speed guy, etc. So our defensive line is going to be dynamic, right? The slot guy, Isaiah Oliver, he'll be there. Coach Wilkes will coach him up. He's big and lanky. You got to love that. So we're going to be set. We're going to be fine. The only thing that can stop us is us, or the wardrobe malfunctions, as I like to say, the equipment malfunctions. But that defense is going to be stout for sure.
Becca, what do you think?
For me, it's about leadership. I think you can have all the talent in the world, but if you don't have the right people, coordinating the orchestra, everybody can make their own noise and be great at what they do. But if you don't have a guy orchestrating the moves, and pulling the strings at the right time, then it can all fall apart. So I'm happy that we have Steve Wilkes, because as much talent as we have, you absolutely have to have coaching and leadership. So I think having Steve Wilkes come in and, Javon Hargrave obviously plugging a very big hole there, that to me was an upgrade in both cases. And I do think we're in good hands, but certainly, you look at like a Matt analogy here, Scott McCloughan built the roster that Trent Baalke inherited and Jim Harbaugh took to a Super Bowl. They didn't draft those guys, someone else did, but they couldn't utilize the talent appropriately. You bring in the right people to, direct the airplanes coming in, and now you have, some cohesiveness and traffic going in the right direction. I feel like Steve Wilkes is going to take the talent we have and continue what D'Amico Ryans is leaving behind, and we're not going to lose a beat. We're in good hands, and I'm happy that we have him, because otherwise it could have been a different coordinator and someone with less experience and not quite the same talent, know-how, people skills, and coaching ability, and it could have fell apart on us even with a stacked, talented roster. So I think we're in good hands, and I think we're moving in the right direction. It's all good to me.
And speaking of the defense, our good friends PFF, top 10 linebacker units in the NFL. Number 1, as we should be.
Who else was they going to pick?
Well, I don't know, because you know what? Brock Purdy still doesn't have a picture.
That's true.
So.
Criminal.
You know what? Brock Purdy
Criminal.
finally has a photo in the sleeper in the I'm continuing to get ready for the Scott Fish Bowl, fantasy football bowl there for charity and stuff, and been doing a lot of mock drafts, and Brock Purdy does have a photo in fantasy football now. It's not just a great cutout like he has. It's not like the same sort of profile photo though. It's like some weird, like kind of almost at an angle, like they caught him out at Nobu or something. It's really bizarre. But yeah, it's there. It exists. I don't know if they've got that on Pro Football Focus or any of the other ones or not. But yeah, it was very like, it was like it's on Perez Hilton or something. Don't take my picture.
Photos, please.
Yeah, no photos, please. Yeah, same deal.
So Corey has a question. Would you guys trade Juwan Jennings for Chase Young?
I mean, yeah, if they're gonna do it straight up, why the hell not, right? But like, I don't think the Commanders or whatever the hell they're calling themselves nowadays would do that. Like, I wouldn't trade. Like, if you're just going to swap a contract for Chase Young, I think that would totally work. Maybe Washington would trade Javon Kinlaw for Chase Young because they're kind of in a similar situation, right? You're kind of swapping similar for similar. The only difference is Javon Kinlaw's on the line. Maybe they can utilize him on the line a little bit better. Maybe he works a little bit better in Ron Rivera's system than he works here. That would be something I would be interested in, depending on how that goes. And you'll see a lot of that around training camp. A lot of guys in their 5th year get traded for another guy in their 5th year. So they might be able to unlock something that somebody else didn't unlock. But I don't think you can get Jennings for him, because if you're trading for I feel like you're gonna have to throw in a pick along with Jennings. I don't think that would work.
And Melissa wants to know which USC Trojan has better year, Jackson or Hufanga? Ty, what do you think?
Oh, it's going to be Huff. Huff in his 3rd year, playing alongside Gip once again. It's just, from an experience standpoint, it's going to be Huff. And Drake is going to get rotated a lot, like I mentioned. So he won't get the amount of playing time that Huff will get. So it'll definitely be Huff.
Huff also posts for a photo with me at the thing, so he's got that good karma going from these years.
Right.
That's like auto favorite.
That's right.
Yeah,
Right
like
there.
he's just he's an all-pro this year. Clearly, I would bet on that. I'd run to your local.
We're going to hear about that for a while.
Pretty much forever. Yeah.
What you don't know is that Matt secretly rubbed some dirt on him behind his back when while you're posing.
That's some of that thing
Yep.
there.
Got some
actually.
of that candlestick dirt on him. Have a good year. Have a good year.
Yeah.
I actually,
Okay.
you know what I did?
Yeah.
Like when people get married and you flick the rice in the air, like I grabbed some of that dirt. I just flicked, what's going on there? I just flicked some in the air. It's fine.
Oh.
You know what? I could actually see that.
I would 100% do that. I would sprinkle it like fairy dust, man. Like I wouldn't care.
Yeah,
Get up in the
exactly.
air.
Guys, has this team done enough to beat the Chiefs and win the Super Bowl? Because obviously we have to beat the Chiefs or the up and coming Bills are right behind them. Has this team done enough?
HE double hockey sticks, yes. Exclamation point. Go back to last season. That game we played them, we should have beat them. We beat ourselves. That should have been a 40-point game easily, and we beat ourselves. We let them off the hook. I know there's a lot of factors involved, but we still could have beat them. So this season, when we're even better all around, they ain't got nothing for us.
I mean, yeah, they've got the Michael Jordan guy at quarterback, right? Like at the end of the day, they've got the Michael Jordan level guy at quarterback, but like the rest of the roster, if you look at it, like it's not the same. Like if they end up facing Kansas City again, I think they beat them. If you look at the AFC this year, just around the terms, like, do you think they have the best roster in the AFC? You know, like going top 5, it's maybe
true that.
But the AFC is going to be weird this year. You know, the Jets seem to think they're good. We'll see. Until further notice, they're still the Jets. Just remember that, everybody. Like I don't have anything else to say about it. I think the Ravens are going to be much improved this year. You know, the Ravens actually are they're going to play an NFL offense this year. It's absolutely crazy to me. Like they're going to throw the ball and do things. And if Lamar Jackson stays healthy and into it, like they should probably have a pretty decent year. And Baltimore really does a good job with that. I watch out for the Jaguars. A lot of people want to jump on that Jaguars bandwagon, but I look at teams like the Jaguars and I look at teams like the Lions. I know they're in the NFC, but I look at teams like that, and every time we expect them to take that big leap that, oh, well, they had a really good last year.
Yeah.
They totally just crap out for no apparent reason. You know, somebody does a thing, like whatever. So, and by the way, if there's one thing that this whole Aaron Rodgers thing has shown everybody, it's how many Jets fans are in the league office. Because anything, anytime that the NFL can post anything about the New York Jets, boy, oh boy, it is there. Also, I was at the beach today. Okay. I was at the beach today. I want to read this notification that I got. Hold on just a second. Which one was it? The notification was like something about the 49ers. Is the 49ers defense good enough to win the Super Bowl? And some random like journalist name pops up here. And I'm like, oh God, are you trying to bait me into this? Like, what are you doing? I'm on the beach, man. Leave
I'm
me
on
alone.
the beach in my Zen mode.
Yeah, it's freaking June. Like, it's rained most of the month. Like, I don't have time for this. Like, I don't want to get mad because of some guy's rankings. Like, he probably just got out of college last year, like, because you're too cheap to hire veteran reporters. Like, I don't know. Like, I'm not going to get wound up about this guy. You know, sheesh. But I couldn't believe it. It was like direct marketing. Like, see where the 49ers rank on this list. I'm like, holy crap. Okay. I guess you want me to get mad now.
Yeah, I think we definitely do have the team to beat the Chiefs for sure.
We need to beat them in
even
the
the Bills
Bowl
for that matter. Yeah,
exactly.
We need to beat them.
And I know Bryant is rooting for a Jets-Niners Super Bowl. And you know what? You never know, but we'll take care of them too. Tight End University.
TEU.
I'm surprised you're not going to that, Jess. Like, I'm surprised you're not.
I'm surprised too. I am.
Like, I'm thinking maybe next year when you know the dates, you should get a tent and you should just camp out at the thing, like TEU, like, you know, campsite.
That's a good idea.
So I have some insider information.
Fred lives in Bowling Green.
Do tell.
So I heard per sources. See, I did that there. That since George didn't get an invitation to Disney, he did not extend an invitation to TEU.
Now it all makes sense. Beck, did you
felt jilted?
Did you say Bowling Green?
My friend has a place at Old Stone in Bowling Green.
I love Bowling Green. I went there for the Maine Western Kentucky a few years ago.
Yeah, so Western Kentucky U is there.
Yep.
So she has a place, we call it the compound. It's in a gated community on a golf course. It's like there's 2 gated communities in the city. And it's an hour north of Nashville.
Yeah, it's right. It's right there, and there is no cell service for about half the trip up there. Fun fact, in case you're wondering.
So always funny. I always say, like, I'm going in. That's what I call everyone before I leave and go into the compound. Because once I get into the gated community, I have no cell service. If you don't have Kentucky Bluegrass Wireless, you're screwed.
You got nothing. You'll have nothing, and you will like it because that's
you
how
better
it is.
be able to play a banjo and communicate by song.
I once had to peel my friend off the bathroom floor in Bowling Green, Kentucky, of a bar on a Friday night. He just recently retired from the military, by the way. Fun fact. So,
Where'd you go in Bowling Green?
I don't even remember the name of the place. I just remember that I had to drag him off of the bathroom floor. Like it was like the whatever the college bar was at that time for the people that went to Western Kentucky, or WKU as they called it.
Yeah.
Had to peel him off the floor. I'd never forget that one. He's like, this floor is so cold. I'm like, I know it is, buddy. I understand. We'll turn the air conditioner on in the car.
But usually
and then we'll hose you down before we bring you back into the barracks. It's fine.
Whoa. So
they have a thing called the Derby Bar, and it's a dueling piano, and the piano is like up on, I don't know, the bar is down here, and it's up on like a second level. And
dueling pianos are great. They had a place down in Disney, and it was phenomenal. I could have sat there all night.
Exactly. We tend to sit there, probably over Sarah Welcome, but they encourage singing. So, why don't we sing off key and loudly and continue to drink? And it's just a really good time.
Trey Lance looks like his arm is really well rested there. Not sore at all. Looks like it's really ready to go.
Yeah. So this
is doing some curls.
Think that
isometric exercises.
George Kittle doesn't like Trey Lance.
That's right. So this picture has to be photoshopped, right?
Oh yeah, it can't be real.
Because George does not like Trey. So why would he be hanging out with him?
Why would he invite him? Why would he invite him to this thing if he doesn't like him? My goodness. Like what? Yeah, it's ridiculous.
5 and 85.
All that kind of talk is nonsense, and we all know.
All right, guys. I think it's time for our hurry up offense and the 2-minute warning.
And so this is June 21st. And according to rumors, training camp will start 21 days from now. So prayers to number 21, Deion Sanders, for his health condition. And everybody have fun. We're just getting started.
Go ahead, Becca.
Well, we started with it, but happy belated birthday to Joe, my first love, Joe Montana. Hope you had a wonderful birthday. Sending my love. Titan University is underway. I mean, what doesn't scream, let's have fun in the summer with some football, but that. So I hope they have a great time down there. Happy belated Father's Day to all the Niner dads out there. Hope you guys had a wonderful Father's Day and Juneteenth. Absolutely something everyone should pay attention to and celebrate. Diversity and freedom and love for all people. So go Niners. And happy first day of summer, yes.
Yes, happy first day of summer. Tight End University, obviously, that's what we were just talking about. Next year I'm going. Yeah, and you know what? Enjoy the summer. Training camp will be here before you know it. Great show. Thank you guys. And go Niners. Go ahead, Maddie.
I want to thank my Wi-Fi for not Wi-Fiing today. So I want to thank the hardwired connection for stepping up and doing its job. Like my hardwired connection is like Javon Hargrave coming. It makes it that much better. There wasn't a single dropout. Like I was here all the time. Now I don't know if that's good or bad. But here we are, right? We've got the full experience now in 360. So God help us all. Amen. Pray to St. Walsh.
Go Niners.
Go Niners.
Bang, bang.
See you guys next week.
Yep. See you next week.
And of course, for the upstart 49ers, they're 6 yards away from Pontiac. 3rd and 3.
We'll see a pickup sometime on the right side, possibly.
Montana looking, throwing in the end zone.